Well, good evening, everybody. You should be able to hear me loud and clear. It's now 6 o'clock, so we will make a start. We've still got quite a few attendees joining us, which is great, and they'll keep arriving over the next few minutes, I'm sure. Good evening to you all, wherever you are around the world. It's an autumn, coldish evening here in the UK, dark already, floodlights on for evening football. Welcome to this webinar. It's about the Pixellot camera system. My name is Mark Fletcher. I'm the CEO of Pitchero, and I'll be your host this evening. And we'll be chatting to Ross, Business Development UK for Pixellot, and also our special guest this evening, Andy from the Steven Gerrard Academy. So we'll be learning about the Pixellot camera system in one of the UK's leading academies for young players here in the UK. Obviously, its namesake is the Liverpool legend, Steven Gerrard. So we'll be hearing all about that and talking you through it. This webinar is being recorded. So if you miss bits or you'd like to rewatch it, if you reach out to Pixellot, I'm sure they'll provide a link to you. It's hosted on Zoom, so they'll be able to get that to you. Bit of housekeeping, you'll see at the bottom there, there's a chat box, there's a Q&A area. If you've got any questions throughout this evening, please feel free to type them in there. I'll keep an eye on it, and when Ross and Andy are speaking, I'll have a look and I'll try and introduce your questions into the evening. And at the end of the night, we'll also go through and recap, and any questions you do have, we'll ask them. So first of all, let me introduce Ross from Pixellot. Good evening, Ross. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Mark. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Very well. Ross, give us a bit of an overview of your role in Pixellot, and what have you been up to this last week?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ross Tanner. I'm responsible for the UK Pixellot business, and I have been here for the best part of 6.5 months now. So this week, been very busy working on different opportunities and looking to obviously sell more Pixellot systems in the market. So yeah, really pleased to be here this evening and looking forward to the session and understanding more about Andy and the Steven Gerrard Academy.
Fantastic. So that leads us into Andy. Good evening, Andy. You're on mute at the moment, Andy. There we go. Nearly went live with mute on. Andy, good evening to you, Andy. Andy Marshal, Head of Sports Science at the Steven Gerrard Academy in Liverpool. Andy, good evening. How are you doing?
Hi, Mark. How are you? I'm good, thanks. Good to be here. I've been, you know what? I've seen a few of the webinar links go out. Haven't actually caught one yet, so this will be my first one, and it'll be the first one I'm presenting on as well. So really pleased to be here.
Fantastic. Well, fingers crossed the technology all stands up and we have a good evening. So Andy, first of all, tell us a bit about the Academy. Just a simple overview. Am I right in thinking this is aimed at students that are sort of 16 to 18-year-olds, both boys and women, and it's open to all students in the UK can attend, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So we're a further education provider, one of the first to do a program that's like ours, open to 16 to 19-year-olds, both boys and girls. So effectively, when people leave secondary school in the UK, it might be a little bit different to other countries, but you can either choose to stay on like the school sixth form or go to college, and we're another kind of provider. So you can come, young boys and girls can come and study with us, and then access an excellent football program alongside that. So yeah, we're one of the first types of football and education providers. I think that's what a lot of these academies call themselves, and that's what we call ourselves.
We started. Right. So I'll just clarify that for the international folks on the line. In the UK, at 16 years old, the students have quite a lot of options. They have this 2-year gap where they can go do lots of different things. And then at 18, they'll go to university. You call it colleges in America. We call it universities here. You also call it universities, of course. But that 2-year window, they can do a variety of things. They can study their exams for university, or they can do quite a few vocational things. And they could also go to these specialist colleges where there's a specific focus. And in Andy's case and Steven Gerrard, you teach a sports science module for 2 years. And as well as learning that, they're playing in a very elite level academy. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. So we cater for a lot of different learning abilities and football abilities. So we offer different vocational qualifications in sport, which cover I won't go into too many technical details on A levels and things like that, but covers a range of abilities in terms of academic ability. So it's open to everyone. That's what we're here for. All abilities, 16 to 18. People who want to study and carry on playing football, that's who we're aimed at.
Yeah. And how many of your current students are outside Liverpool? Is the majority, or the majority from the Liverpool area?
Majority are from the Liverpool area. Our largest site is in South Liverpool. Currently sitting at around 170 students. We have 2 other local sites in kind of the Liverpool area. So one is in Kirkby, which is also Liverpool. That's around 10 to 15. That's only just started up this academic year. And then just outside of Liverpool in Chester, that's around 20 students. Again, a new site that we've opened up this year. And then we've got a couple of others. So we've got a site in Derry in Ireland, Alicante. We've just started a new site in Spain, and then Tenerife also.
Great. And how many? What's the percentage split between female and male football players? And are you seeing a growth in female?
Majority are male players. We've been working really hard to recruit female players who love to play football and want a career in sport. There's been a real effort to get girls into the academy and really push the girls game forward. We've got a really talented squad of girls who are competing in the National Football Youth League. Currently sitting around 20 girls in that squad. Again, always looking to grow the girls game. That's one of our key aims going forward. Yeah.
And I saw that you attend the Dallas Cup every year over in Texas in the States. What's that like? Is the US tournaments tend to be pretty impressive.
I'd love to give you first-hand knowledge and understand, but I haven't been yet. This coming year,
you're not on the plane yet.
This coming year will be the first time. So maybe we'll do another one, and I'll reflect on my experience over there. But all the other coaches and the players have said it's brilliant. It's one of the best experiences they have in the year. So something to look forward to.
Absolutely. I always, whenever you fly into an American city, you can always sort of see the 3D pictures, and it's like 30 and they're lit up, and you think it's the airport at first, but then you realize it's just like one of the local soccer clubs.
Yeah.
Hugely impressive out there. And the last question, Steven Gerrard, how involved is he in the setup? How often do you see him? Do the students get to actually meet the legend and some time with him?
Yeah, he's been down a few times in the past year or two. It's been really difficult due to COVID. He's obviously at managing Rangers, so there's obviously restrictions around the players obviously not having contact with the outside world, I would say. So he's got to stick within a bubble. I'm not sure how relaxed those restrictions are now, but he was down. When was he down? In August time. I was really gutted because I was off because I'd been in contact with someone with COVID, so I had to stay off when he came in. I'll flash some pictures up shortly of his visit down. We took two squads to Rangers to play 2 of their academy teams, and he was obviously watching. We actually won both games.
Wow.
Again, massive experience for the lads to
go
and play at Rangers.
Right? That's a big achievement if you can take 2 teams to a Scottish Premiership academy and beat them.
Definitely. The weather was horrible. Nice Scottish weather. Great pitches, but it was a brilliant experience for the players and the staff as well. The staff loved the away days and going to experience new places. We when we started the partnership with Steven, all of the staff actually went down to Rangers, and we basically got a personal tour off Steven himself. He took us around the training ground, sat down and had something to eat with us, took us out onto the pitch, and then we watched the session. I think it was before one of their Europa League games, and he ran through the session with us. So he was going, what was going on? Obviously the coach was taking it. I think it was Michael Beale. He was taking the tactical bits, and he was explaining why they're doing it and what they're doing and things like that. So great experience. Yeah.
Phenomenal experience. That's a good link, because You know, if you go on the Steven Gerrard Academy website, you'll see the quality of the facilities there, your indoor gyms with all the techno gym and the 3G pictures and the floodlights. It's a hell of a setup. And that leads us great to your investment in Pixellot and why you think it's so important for an academy teams to have them, so that you can produce the kind of performances that can beat the full-time academies at, European sides. So, that's a good introduction for us. Tell us then, your experience with Pixellot. I believe you got some slides there for us.
Yeah, sure. I'll just throw them off if that's okay.
Absolutely, you go for it, and we'll pepper you with questions as we go.
Sure. Can we see that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, so this was my introduction. I've got some nice transitions for you and things like that. So yeah, like I said, here's some pictures from Steven's visit. I will explain why we were playing in a Stoke kit. It's not just for a random reason. To be a part of the National Football Youth League, we have to be linked with a club. So some of our coaches have got excellent links with different coaches and academies. So we got a link with Stoke City. Again, provides opportunities for our players. So we play under Stoke City in that league. We have 4 or 5 teams in there. So yeah, that was the day I missed. The weather wasn't very nice, but Steven was there, so I think I missed a big opportunity to meet him. But he came down. The experience the players had on the day. It was just a normal match in the league. We ended up winning 2-1, but he was giving them information on the side of the pitch. Halftime team talk. The staff were just blown away by the team talk itself. Just the information that he was given. Dead simple, but really effective. And obviously, it's coming from one of the best players ever. So, yeah, a great day. So I've just got a quick slide, if you don't mind. So some stats from our season. It kind of lays a foundation for what I'm going to talk about today, really. So some stats so far this season. So we've got 13 teams, over 230 players overall. I didn't mention the international program that we have as well. So we bring players in from different countries, and they live and kind of breathe SGA. It's a bit of an experience for them. Some of them complete the academic side. Some of them stay for a few months and things like that. Again, so they make up all of our players at the academy. So far this season, I think this is really some achievement for us. We've actually filmed 54 matches within the past 6 or 7 weeks. Some of them haven't been filmed for whatever reasons, logistics things, but 54 matches have been filmed. Worked it out, we've scored 200 goals on the dot within those 13 teams. Actually, it's 201. We played the game today, so it's 201, but didn't have a chance to update. National Football Youth League, which I was talking about, we've got a team that's first, a team that's second, and a team that's third at the moment. And then we've also got the girls as well. I think they're mid-table-ish. We've recently made it to the first round proper of the FA Youth Cup for the first time in our history. So we beat Trafford, AFC Liverpool, and North Shields to make it round to the first round proper. That game's in a couple of weeks, and we play Morecambe, so Football League club at home. So that's a massive achievement for us. And then we've got a team of 12 sports scientists at the academy.
Andy, can I just ask a quick question
Sure.
on that? So the FA Cup first round proper against Morecambe, can you give us an understanding in terms of other academies that have achieved that kind of status to reach the first round of an FA Cup? Because to me, as an academy, that's quite an achievement, right?
Yeah, it's something that everyone wants to play in. I think if you look at the parallel between the actual FA Cup with the first teams, it's the same for the FA Youth Cup. It's the magic of the cup, really. I think non-league teams who enter it, they want to get to the first round proper. You saw that Marine got to the third round last year. It's the same for the FA Youth Cup. We want to get as far as we can, and then the big day for us is playing a Football League club like Morecambe. But then we want to obviously progress even further. I know Fylde, who were kind of a similar level to us, they got to the 5th round last year. and they played Chelsea away and only got beat 2-0. And Fylde have got a really good setup. Their infrastructure is excellent, and that they'll end up probably going into the Football League. But we're probably similar to them. It's just a massive occasion. I think when I played for like a non-league club in the FA Youth Cup, and it's just a massive day when you go and play in those games. Cool. So I didn't really explain about me. I haven't really done that just yet. So I'll explain my role. So I'm currently the sports science lead at the Steven Gerrard Academy. I also have a couple of different hats. So I'm also a teacher and a course leader. So I teach on our level 3 program, and I also coach a squad as well. Before I was at SGA, I studied at John Moores University, so in science and football. So that's where I've obviously learned all my stuff and stuff that I apply in the academy today. And I've recently graduated from the Uni of Huddersfield with a PGCE in further education. So that's my teaching qualification. I've been with the academy for this is my 4th year full time, but I was an analyst intern for a year and a half as well before I got my full-time role. So I think we've obviously got a lot to cover, and it's very much kind of an informal chat, and I know Mark's got some questions to ask me. So what I'll show you now is the kind of the process that we go through in terms of match analysis. So that starts from the Pixellot cameras on a match day or a training day, all the way through to the end of that process. So the end point is to feedback to the players and the staff, to give them the information, the data, the video, what's happened on the match day, what's happened on the training day, and then after that, what's next. So obviously what's next is the next training session or the next match, and I'll just show you and explain to you how that process works. It doesn't actually stop. So whilst my timeline on the screen stops, the process is ongoing. So it goes from 1 week to the next, and it's just ongoing until the season is finished. And even still, that process carries on throughout the years. Obviously, learning doesn't stop. We want our players and staff to obviously carry on learning and developing, and that's what that process is. So it obviously starts with the cameras. We film all our sessions, training sessions. I think this gives our players an opportunity to go and watch things back in training sessions. I mean, they all love to watch their goals back and bits of skill in the sessions, but really encourage them to go back and look at things we worked on. I'm always as a coach encouraging my players to think about what we do in the sessions, because we do it for a reason. So it starts there. Match days, again, we set the cameras up. This is the first step in kind of the analysis process. This is followed by once the game day's finished, match day's finished, we upload the games. Again, this is I'd like to stress how easy and streamlined the process is due to obviously the air camera. The air camera's massive help. You don't have to have someone standing there filming in the cold. I've done it hundreds of times and it's not nice. So this does you a massive favor. Easy to set up, easy to record, put it on the side of the pitch, let it do its thing. After the match day, we get uploaded, ideally same day, so it gets processed. Usually the turnaround time for it to be processed, 4 or 5 hours. It's usually done the same day, which is massive, because the players want to watch the game back as soon as they've played it, really. This then goes into VidSwap. So VidSwap's Pixellot's kind of equivalent. A lot of people know what Huddle is, and we've used that in the past. So it's their equivalent to that, and I would say it's better. So it goes on to VidSwap. VidSwap's a great analysis platform. All of our players on there are on there with an account. They've got it on the phones, on the laptops, on their iPads. Gets uploaded to there straight away from the camera once it's been processed. They can go on, watch it. This is our next step. And this is probably the step our analysts kind of jump into the process. So once it's been uploaded, the tasks assigned to them, and they go away and kind of analyze the game. We've got our own KPIs, so key performance indicators. We've got our own match analysis process. So they go away and analyze the game. The players again can request anything they want. The coaches can request anything they want. So I'll give you an example. When we played Tranmere last week, we won 5-3. We started really fast, so I think we went 3-0 up pretty quick. Some great goals, but then took the foot off the gas a little bit. So I know Todd, our head of football, he's the under-19s coach. He wanted to see some clips around that. So why did we kind of slow down? Why did we take the foot off the gas? A little bit like Liverpool at United on Sunday. Hope there's lots of United fans in here.
We just lost six viewers.
But yeah, I think the coaches can request what they want, and that's a good part of the process. So the analysts are in now. Their task is to get the game turned around and the analysis turned around as fast as possible. This is again massively important. The quicker you get it done, the quicker we can start the next step. Then goes into Google Sheets. So a lot of people use Excel. We use Sheets because it's easy to collaborate on, free, basic stuff. We've got our own in-house spreadsheets. All the data goes into there. Obviously, it's really important that it's imported correctly. Things like that. That's the boring side for me, inputting that data. But again, it's important that it goes there. Also, part of that process, once the game's been tagged, the analysts start clipping video from the game. So, for example, if I had asked my analyst to tag playing out from the back, which is one of our KPIs, they then put it into something called Metrica. So that's a telestration tool. Again, something that's really powerful and free. So you can draw on it, things like that. I won't go into that too much, but it goes into there, and then that forms kind of the basis of the video. That then gets put into there's my next one, into Google Slides again, PowerPoint slides, goes into a presentation. This is then part of the feedback process that our players kind of see and the staff see. So ideally, we want the feedback done by Friday, but if not, Monday's the next kind of contact time for our players. Before training, it's usually done. So we sit our players down, a bit of a team meeting, and then we go through the presentation. So it'll be via the slides, and it'll include each of the steps that you've just seen there. So the stats, the video, the telestration, that's all come from the air camera. And that's massively important. It's not a kind of, one of our coaches calls it video nasty, because sometimes it can be quite brutal because you're watching the game back, some things go wrong. Yeah. It's very much not like that. It's a process. The team's involved. We ask them questions. We want them to be involved in that analysis. We do the clips, the data, but then we have a discussion around what's happening. I think that's massively important. I think if you've watched the series on Amazon about, I think there's one done on Tottenham. I think you had Jose on the screen, All or Nothing, that's what it was called. Jose on the video, and he was kind of going through the clip, just pointing and things like that. Not really involving the players, and I think obviously it's down to preference, but we want to get our players involved in that because they're on the pitch making the decisions. So we want to get our players involved in that, and that's what that kind of next step is. The data that comes from the sheets, so obviously data comes from BidSwap into the sheets, and then that gets displayed into a dashboard. So some people may have heard Power BI. So it's basically a data visualization tool. There's similar ones like Tableau and things like that, and you can display that data in sheets. But Power BI is something that we've started using this year, and I'm going to show you some examples of how we're using that data within Power BI.
Can I just pick you up on the one point about sharing video clips with players? For teams and academies that don't use this, what impact does a player what impact does just a player seeing themselves playing week in, week out have? You know, if you imagine a player that doesn't see video to a player that does see video, what's the difference in their performance and their improvement and their you know, their development?
Oh, it's huge. I think I'll give you an example of a player that's joined us this year, and he's one of my players actually. He's obviously come from either grassroots teams, don't film the games, don't really analyze anything. They just turn up, play, finished. That's it. Obviously you reflect, but you can't watch it back. I think he's come in. He's really keen on the video, on the stats. He wants to get involved in the post-match analysis after the games. His games come on massively. He's a centre midfielder. He's decent on the ball. Physically, got a little bit to work on in terms of strength and things like that, but he's decent on the ball. And something I keep telling him is to, when he's receiving off the goalkeeper or his centre back, to receive on the half turn, to try and play forward. I go on and on and on in training. For the first few training sessions, back foot, play forward, back foot, play forward. And then when we played, and sometimes he either didn't do it or did do it, I was then able to review that, show him it, send him them clips and go, this is what I mean. So if you receive on your back foot and play forward, something as simple as that, you've done it in 2 touches and now you're facing forward, and then you can go and create something in the attack and third. So I think that's an example of that.
Yeah, facts and evidence are pretty compelling to a player. It's okay you giving a player your opinion after a game, saying, I think you did this. I think the player might argue, he might disagree with you. His dad might have a different opinion.
Yeah.
You know, there's all these people feeding in their ears about what they do well and what they don't do well. If it's on tape, it's a fact, right? And you can say to him, okay, you turned on the ball 8 times, 5 of them were wrong, 3 of them were right. That's the, you know, they can't argue with that.
Definitely, yeah. I think another good thing about VidSwap is that once you've tagged the game, you can then send a review to a player. So I did this with, or a group of players. So I did this with the whole team. So working on playing out from the back. We played a game, and we didn't do it as often as I'd like. We playing too direct, from goal kicks too direct. When we got the ball, too direct in our third. So I asked our analysts to tag the times where we played out from the back. How many were successful? I think it was around 28%, which is pretty low. The next game we played, it went up, so it was around 50%, which progress. But how I highlighted that was through the reviews section on VidSwap. So what you can do on there is, once you've done all your tags, select them all, send a review to your players. They can go on. They'll get a notification as well that you've sent them a review. You can go on, leave comments. So I've basically said what's gone on in the clips, what I want them to do, or what they didn't do well. And then as well, I can see if they've watched the clip, which is really handy, because if I'm enforcing it and going, you need to watch this, you need to watch this, and I can't really see if they have, then they might just go, yeah, I've watched it. But in reality, they haven't. I can actually see when they've watched it, how long they've watched it for, which is massively useful. And again, that's come from kind of the software that the Pixellot provide.
How quick do players look? Is it pretty much instant? You know, as soon as you send them out, they're on it.
I think it depends on the player. Some of them are really keen. Yeah. So as soon as something gets sent out, they're on it straight away, and they might spend half an hour on it. Yeah. Some are really slow and lazy, and might take me a few times to tell them to get on it and watch it. But yeah, it depends on the player.
Yeah, and that probably tells you something about the player as well. You know, those players that are on it are probably the ones that are gonna go, and the players that are a bit slower might take a bit more time.
Spot on, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. More intelligence, more good to have. Okay, yeah, this is interesting. Let's keep going.
Sure. So here's an example of the Power BI dashboard. So this was fully created in-house. I designed this painstakingly myself. still a work in progress. So obviously data is about, like I said, about the Google Sheet. Data goes into a spreadsheet. It's the most boring part. It's the most boring thing to look at. So it's about the way you display that after that step. So putting it into Power BI, it's really versatile. There's lots of things you can do with it. For our match kind of analysis part, we've created something called a match center. So you can go on and look at obviously the snapshot. This page is called. So basically just a snapshot of the information, a couple of the stats. For just reasons, I've took the squad list off and the player of the match, but I'll have the squad list on the positions, the minutes they played, things like that. And gives them a snapshot of the game. So you can see in this game, this was our most recent FA Youth Cup game. Snapshot of the data, where it was, the score, and then some of the stats. Again, stats don't always tell us the whole story, but in a lot of cases they do. In this game, we had a lot less of the ball. We played a little bit more direct. We've got two strikers that cause absolute chaos up top. We were playing on a big pitch, so we just put it in behind for them to run at. Scored 4 goals. I think we scored 3 really quick goals in the first half. But you can see just a snapshot of the data. Some other useful stuff, what we played in possession. So we played a 4-1-2-1-2, so a diamond. So did they. And then out of possession, it was pretty similar either side. So kind of trying to match each other. And again, some other data that doesn't come from kind of VidSwap. So the performance rating and the player of the match are subjective, and they come from the coach. That comes from a separate sheet.
Great.
Going into a little bit more detail. So this is the attacking section of the match center. So this is a different game. So this is one of our development teams versus Chorley. In this game, we absolutely dominated. Lloyd, one of our new coaches, he's really big on analysis. So we really appreciate stuff like this. You can see in the middle, we've got 2 shot charts. They come directly from VidSwap. So just screenshot them, put them in. Again, you can see on our shot chart with 29 shots in total, 4 goals. Again, really good visual to have. Illustrates how the game went in terms of attack and output. Bottom left, big chances, an issue with the stats there, so ignore that. He loves to cross the ball in the box. So as you can see, 29 crosses to 2 in our favour. Likes to cross the ball, got good delivery from wide area. So it's something he works on. You can see that in the stats. Penalty area entries, again, this one is something that does show it does kind of give you a picture of how the game went. Because if you're not near the penalty area, if you're not in their penalty area, you're not creating as many chances or you're not scoring as many goals. So in this game, we've entered their penalty area 30 times, which is a lot. And that reflects again in the shots as well. So 11 shots on target. You can see in the shots chart, there's a lot of shots inside the box. So again, just kind of highlights what's gone on in the game, trying to make it as visual as possible. And I think an important thing is trying not to overwhelm with stats. I could list every stat that we tag in that page, but it's not. A lot of the stats are big that you can see, the ones they want to highlight. And again, just provides a nice visual.
Andy, just a quick question, if I may, at this point. So in terms of the visualizations you have here via Power BI, how much do you do your video sort of mapping with the data as well to showcase what's going on a field of play, or do you just use it as a presentation for this type of thing on Power BI?
Sorry, repeat that for me again. So
yes, so do you match the video clips at certain passages of play, for example, with the data visualizations you have in here? So do you go between Power BI and the video clips from Pixellot Air? Is that how you broadly structure it in your seminars or your feedback sessions to your players?
Yeah, so I think what we do is we just transfer the stats into the slides. Say, for example, if we were looking at all our shots for we might only look at kind of the shots for, because we don't need to look at all of the shots. Maybe if we're looking at shot quality or efficiency, we might do, but so we're looking at all the shots on target, we might go through them and then highlight specific ones on the shot chart. That's something that I've done, because in one of my games, we were shooting from a little bit too far out and didn't really threaten them, weren't really efficient, lots of shots that went wide. So I used the shot chart alongside the video to highlight that. And again, just get the picture across. With the video, you can then point out maybe different routes we could have gone down, different options that we could have chosen. So instead of shooting wide, could we played the ball out wide, entered the box from a wide area, and then created a chance a different way, and things like that. So yeah, I think we use it. I think it's important to use it alongside the data. If you're just using one in isolation, you don't maximize kind of the information or the feedback that you're given. If you use both side by side or together, I think you're maximizing that development opportunity and the opportunity to learn about the game or the session. So here's something from our report. So just a few shots of how that looks. So again, we pull our stats in. This is from the Tranmere game last week. So we've got our stats in from the game, and then we go through kind of the bits that are most important. So in this game, we showed the shot goals for. Again, you can see the video from the Pixellot there, and then a bit of information to the side. So our analysts, I think it's really important. You can have the video, you can have the visualization, you can have all of the software and hardware that you want, but if you haven't got people that can kind of give you insight, I think all our coaches can do that, but the analysts, again, it's one of their important responsibilities to provide a bit of insight into what they're watching, because they're going through the game, analyzing it. So what insight can they provide? That's something we encourage them to do. So for the goals for, something as simple as 18 of the 24 shots came in the 18-yard box. I know on the next slide was the shot chart, so that would have been displayed. Quality finishing and reaction time to the goals. I was watching this one, and that's right. More than half the shots were on target. So some simple statistics next to the video. Insight that you might not just get in the general match stats that are also displayed. Really important. And then again, using the video from the air, using our telestration tool, highlighting different things when we're out of possession. So one thing I noticed, because I was watching this game as well, and something the coach wanted to highlight, was that the gaps in between the midfield and then the gaps in between the defenders weren't right. So you can see there's a bit of insight for each clip that's being played. So for example, clip number 4, poor defensive line allows space between the right back and right centre back. So what happens? The ball comes wide and they just put one in behind. That's the last clip there, and then they created a chance from that. So better quality from the opposition would have potentially resulted in goals. So and again, kind of they did create a few chances and score some goals as well. So I think the presentation is about providing that insight. If you just put those video clips in, if you put the stats in, it's just stats and video. If you don't provide that additional insight, then you're not giving the players and the coaches as much value as they possibly can.
That makes sense, absolutely.
I just put this little video and I was going to talk over it. So this kind of really displays how we use VidSwap, so you can see our tagging panel. Again, an important thing is not to be overwhelming with what you're tagging. So if you've got 1 million tags in that panel, then the analysts aren't going to be able to focus on the key things that you want to focus on. So you can generate as many stats as you want, as much data as you want. But at the end of the day, you're not going to analyze it all post-match. So you may as well focus on the things that you are going to analyze. So one thing we brought in this season, and it's something that you probably see a lot in football nowadays is pressing, because Jurgen Klopp and Pep play that way. High energy, high intensity. So we look at kind of the pressing actions of our players and teams. But again, it's not an overwhelming amount of data. You can see we've got literally, I can't really count that fast, but less than 20 tags. Though each of those tags have a little bit more data to the side, you can see there. So for example, if you have a set piece, then you get the additional tags alongside that. So whether it's successful, what type of set piece was it, who took the set piece in the athlete section, what team, etc. And then that goes into the timeline, which you can see there. So any tagging software has a timeline, and you can see that there. So you can resize them, you can edit them, you can delete them, things like that. So again, that's important. That tagging process in VidSwap needs to be as valid and reliable as possible. And to do that, it's having a simple tagging panel, something that's not going to overwhelm the analysts.
You mentioned Jurgen Klopp then in Liverpool. Will they at their level be using something as similar to this and tagging similar pieces? Are you yourself, as obviously a Liverpool-based academy, trying to mirror the same kind of things that Liverpool FC are doing?
I think two really good questions, actually. I think at the top of the game, so if you use Liverpool as an example, they will probably be paying a data provider to give them their data.
Yeah.
They may do some in-house stuff with video and things, but again, they'll probably be provided for them. So I'd probably compare that to maybe Liverpool's academy, maybe the under-23s or the 18s. And I would say, they'll be using something similar, different analysis provider, but it'll be the same process. They'll likely have similar tags. They might not display the data in the ways that we do. I think we're probably ahead of the game in that respect. And not to blow our own trumpet or anything, but I think the way we're doing things, especially in our space in the football and education provider space, we're well ahead of the game in terms of how we display our data, the data we are providing. The software that VidSwap offers is mind-blowing, and the data, the kind of detail that you can go into with it.
And VidSwap's free. VidSwap's free, and it's part of every Pixellot subscription. So any club out there thinking of getting Pixellot, what you're seeing right now is an add-on. It's added value to your package. How many cameras does your academy have in working right now?
Currently, we have 4, 3. Cameras. 2 at our main site, 1 at our site in Kirby, and then 1 at our site in Chester.
And all your coaches are using it. All your coaches are using this video swap. And how much training did they need for video swap? Was it all pretty intuitive to them? Yeah,
pretty much. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Mostly the analysts focus on the tagging side, but you'll probably see, if I can get it up, you can see there's a tag for coaches there, just the single one. They can go on and tag it themselves if they want to. That's there for them to do. But yeah, so they know the ins and outs of VidSwap, the highlights section, reviews, being able to go back and filter tags, basics of video. A lot of them have been around academies and know how the software works, so it's quite straightforward, really.
Ross, I'm right in thinking that you could also pay a smaller fee to video swap, and they'll do the tagging for you. So you can set up what you want to be tagged, set the template up, and you can pay a small fee. So if you're part of a busy club and you don't have full-time staff, you can still get everything tagged very quickly within hours of it going online for a very small extra fee. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 2 different packages that VidSwap provide effectively. So one of which is what we call our basic breakdown, where we effectively tag that game for you. So that's a service that we offer that can be supplementary to your software license from VidSwap. We also do an advanced breakdown as well, which has much more data points involved in it. But so yes, please speak to us if you think actually self-tagging your games in VidSwap is too overwhelming. Then of course we have the ability to do that on behalf for you.
Great.
I think that's a great point. Not everyone has the sports science team. We've got a really good team, and even if you don't consistently use that feature, I think if you do it a few times a season or as many times as you possibly can, getting some data from the games you played then is important. I think Mark, you made a great point about it being free with the Pixellot Air cameras, and that was one of the massive selling points for me. Having that fully fledged analysis platform, which is online, everyone can access, is huge, and it shouldn't be underestimated. No, there's other competitors that have nowhere near the same platform. Even the Pixellot U platform is really useful. You can go and have a look at the game as normal with the tracking or with the panoramic, and again, you can obviously move that to view different parts of the pitch. That's important for our training sessions, because sometimes you have teams on on the same pitch, on half a pitch. So having that option to have the panoramic and then being able to move the camera is important also.
Yeah, I was going to say, Andy, how much of that is used actually by your coaches in terms of the analysis process with the panoramic? Is that, because obviously at the moment we're seeing on screen here in VidSwap like the standard, what we call broadcast view, which tracks the ball left to right. But in terms of the pano view, is that kind of how much is the split in terms of percentage? Are you using camera one position here, like predominantly, or are you using that pano view to pinch into the image and focus in on certain passages of play? Yeah,
I think majority of the stuff, because the majority of events that we film of our matches will be using like the camera view one, so the broadcast view, with the tracking, and then for training sessions, then we'll be using the panoramic. I think the tracking part of it is great anyway, so you'll get a tactical view if that's what you want, a lot of the time. So it's not massive for us to have the panoramic for games, but for training it really is, because sometimes you just want to see the whole half, and you want to see specific parts of the session. So say you've got a warm-up over there, technical, a possession, a shooting drill in different parts of the pitch, then you can go and see that via the U app. I've got a couple more slides. So one of the questions I think Ross had down for me was, what type of schedule do our players have? So we usually talk about it in match day plus or minus. So Monday's match day -2, so that's one of our training days. So it'd be, the schedule you see here is very different to what you would see in professional football or academy football, because our focus is around a Wednesday match day. That's when like the academy leagues are, the college leagues as well. So our focus is around that Wednesday. So on Monday, which is a match day -2, we have our training, be our most intense session, because it's the furthest day away from the match. And again, like I said earlier, that'll be when our post-match analysis will take place. A lot of the students will have their lesson in the morning on that day. And again, that'll be the same on a Tuesday. Tuesday training's a little bit later, so it's a bit more of a focus on tactical analysis. So I know a lot of the coaches will do some run-throughs of maybe playing out from the back. A lot of them do have these really neat set piece routines that they're working on. So they'll work on things like that, and they might do a bit of pre-match analysis. That generally depends on how much we know about the opposition. So if we've got video clips of the opposition, then we might do a bit of pre-match. So if, for example, when we play Tranmere later on in the season, Todd and the team might do a bit of pre-match analysis on Tranmere, so how they set up, shaping possession, out of possession, where the goals came from, how they set up from set pieces, things like that. And again, lesson in the morning. Wednesday's obviously match day. That's based on, and we're just preparing for the game. Some learners have a tutorial in the morning, in the AM, before the match. The match days require a lot of traveling, so there isn't any lessons just in case. So some of our teams in National Football Youth League, they play teams like Sunderland, Durham, Carlisle. So they do a lot of traveling. So you need that time to obviously to travel, prepare as well. Thursdays are our recovery day, so our match day +1. Sometimes have a recovery session, but a lot of the time it would just be individual recovery. This is day for kind of reflection. So ideally we'll have the games up online for the players to go and watch. We don't have an analysis session as such for Thursday or Friday because it's so fresh after the game, and the turnaround time is pretty fast and almost impossible. So we obviously do that on the Monday. And again, lessons in the morning on Thursday, and then lesson in the afternoon on a Friday. Friday's generally a recovery day as well, because a lot of players play for teams outside of the academy. So if you have a game on a Friday, you might have one Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday that you're playing a game. So we give them a recovery day on Friday as well. Any questions around that?
No, and of course these are students. So Saturday and Sunday they're allowed to go home and have a few days off. Yeah, exactly. Or do any assignments. Of course, yeah. Would any of them play for any other teams, or will they play just for you guys? They wouldn't have any other. Some of them have teams. I think a lot of our performance-based players will have a team on a Saturday or a Sunday. Some of the development players generally don't have teams, and their main kind of training and match days will be with us. So it kind of varies really depending on the player. Okay. And that's kind of all of my nice presentation that I've got for you. So if there's anything I've not covered or any other questions, then fire them away. That's fantastic. Really appreciate that. Folks, if you've got some questions you'd like to ask Andy, please do put them in the question and answers box, or the chat box. There's a few things coming through on the chat box as well. So please do ask those questions. So Andy, can you imagine what life would be like if you didn't have a video system? And certainly a video system didn't have the video swap. How many extra hours? We talked about the old school of having the camera, you having to watch, you having to film whilst also trying to watch, having to film whilst trying to coach. That's a nightmare, right? That's actually impossible to achieve. You can't do both. You need that separate Pixellot camera that can just be left by itself on the halfway line whilst you can then watch the game with two eyes and walk up and down the pitch. Is that right? Yeah, I think first thing I'll say is that I think I saw a post on Twitter from one of the analysts that I follow, works for a big data provider, and he said it's not kind of about the tools. You can have really kind of basic stuff, and that will allow you to analyze. But I was thinking, if you've got those tools that are really sophisticated but easy to use, and give you that additional value, it makes life so much easier. So if you instead of tagging the game with the timeline, your buttons, your panels, and you're doing it by hand, that's going to save you probably a full day in terms of analyzing a game. If you're using other different analysis systems that I've used before, probably used everyone you can think of, I think it just saves so much time. The detail that you can go in as well, the way the panel's set up, the way VidSwap's set up, it's really easy to use. In terms of videoing, I think it's massive to have the capability to turn up, because we don't always have someone there to be able to film it. There's not always analysts available to film it. So to be able to teach the coaches how to go and set the camera up on the side of the pitch, it takes less than, I would say, 3 minutes. It's done. They can crack on with the warm up. They can coach the game, take it down at the end, put it away, bring it back, upload it, and that's it. But if you're filming it manually, you'd have to have someone there. You couldn't be coaching and filming at the same time. You can't. Videoing a game is over. You know, it's okay to do a season of videoing games, 20 games. It's hard work and it's time consuming. It's not a pleasant job for someone. You're taking up a massive resource of someone's time. The future is these videos that have the software that blend the pictures together for sure. I remember a couple of years ago being in the States, and it was like they were selling those cameras where they put them up on a big pole, and then you're still down at the bottom, looking at a screen and twizzling the camera, and that was seen as like a huge step forward in filming. And it's not. The step forward is you don't need a cameraman. It's just there and the software works. So we can't speak highly enough of that. We've got a few questions here coming in. Ross, this is perhaps best for you. What are the streaming capabilities of the Pixellot Air?
So yeah, very good question, Mark. So as it stands currently, we have the footage available usually within 4 to 6 hours. So it's a non-live product as it stands, but you'll be pleased to know that Pixellot are developing hard in the background at the moment internally to have it live ready in Q1 of next year. So that's a target for the business to have Pixellot Air as a live streaming service as an option. So yeah, we hope to have that ready. And the good news is you won't need to have a new, if you do have an Air system already, you won't need to replace that. It will come as part of the software.
So it's just a download, just like your iPhone. So when Apple announce an update to your phone, you just upgrade it and it's there on your phone. The same with your Air camera. So don't let streaming put you off. It's coming soon and it'll be one click away once it arrives.
Absolutely.
I think that's something that's something we're really excited for when that feature comes. I think that's really good for when we go to the Dallas Cup. We've got obviously players, families and friends that want to watch games. They can do that obviously after the fact, but if it's live, then that obviously makes it great. And I think if you don't have to purchase any additional equipment, you can just do it off your hotspot. Everyone's got unlimited data nowadays anyway. So you can just do it from your hotspot, put it up, then that's great. So yeah.
Got a question here. Who's more involved in the analysis, the coaches or the players? That's for you, Andy.
So yeah, the players or the coach. I think naturally the coach and the analysts are facilitators for analysis. I would use as the word. We're obviously providing the analysis, but then it's down to the players to take to that. And so if that means going to watch the games back, we've got the platform there to do it. We've got the camera to do it. So it's providing that. In terms of the technical aspects, we'll say the coach and the analysts, but in terms of the players, they probably watch more video footage than us. So in fact, I would say the players are probably using the analysis more. Just like it's a natural process where they'll go and want to watch the games, and we're encouraging them to do that. So I would say the players.
One more question here. This is from Rob, and I'll try and explain this right. I think I understand what Rob's trying to say, so I'll try and explain this. Knowing that the game is being videoed and that you're going to have the post-match analysis and that you've got a system to be able to educate the players and give them clips, has that changed how you behave actually at the game? So does it perhaps take the pressure off as a coach being pitch side, knowing that you don't need to fix every problem at halftime, you've got it on tape and you'll be able to go back, educate this team properly? Has it changed the way you behave during a game?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously you still have your thoughts. So if you go in at halftime and you are say 1-0 down, you've played poorly or you've not done things that you've worked on in training, for example, you're still going to have a team talk that reflects the game and your thoughts on the first half. But then in post-match, when you're involved in that process, and the next step after that is obviously the next game or the next session, I think it does have an effect, because what I'll do if I'm watching a game or coaching or managing a game, I'll think, I'll go and watch that back later. So I notice something there. Yeah. Let me see if it was the same, because I go back and watch games and I go, that's not how I remember that. I think I've played in games
yeah.
where I've been videoed in them and I've gone, that's not how I remember that. I'm a goalkeeper, so I'll go back and watch loads of goals being scored past me. I go, well, that's not how I remember that. Or if I've done something like that, I think as a player, that's something you do. As a coach, you'll go, that's really different to how I remember it, because the emotion, because there's lots of things going on. You've got players behind you. You've got to talk tactics with whoever's with you. You've got to look at the match from an objective point of view. So you think back and think at the end of the game, go, I'll go and watch that back. The team talk at the end of the game is different, I think, because with a camera, you can say to your players, for example, if my goalkeeper, I wanted him to play out from the back a little bit more, I can go, goalkeeper, go back and watch it. Was there any more opportunities where you could play? Could you have done something different? If we're looking at a chance in the attack and third, what other options have there been? Go and have a look back, because from my point of view, watching the game, I can see that it was this, and this, and then I can go and watch it back. I think that's a word that he uses a lot. Go and watch it back. I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Watching yourself is transformative. I was one of those players that couldn't remember anything from a game. I'd be sat in the change rooms afterwards, and there'd be a couple of lads that have photographic memory, and they could say, well, this happened. I'd be like, what half was that? Was that the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes? I would, just could not forget. It would be a haze. And then when you do watch yourself for the first time, it's mind blowing. First of all, you think how slow you are and how out of position you are, and it is the most important training aid. And I think as we go forward, in the next couple of years, it will be as important as the goals. They wouldn't think of, say, installing a 3G pitch without a camera being, where's the camera going to go? Yeah. They wouldn't put up a stand next to a stadium without thinking, right, where the camera's going to be positioned to film this, to film these pictures. And I think, in 10 years' time, coaches will be walking on expecting to switch on a camera on their phone. It'll be like, right, the flags are out, the nets are up, is the camera on? It's going to be just it's so much part of our experience. One question I was going to ask you, when you're recruiting players and attracting players to the academy, is Pixellot and the video analysis something you talk about?
Absolutely, and it's a good question, because we've had we call them taster sessions, so they come and experience what the academy's like, a bit of the coaching. So we put on a session. We only had one last Thursday, and we'll put the camera up, and then we'll send them the footage. A lot of the players that we may recruit may have never had a game filmed, or they may have had one or two. They've definitely never seen the quality of Pixellot Air. So for them to experience it on the day, seeing the camera, they'll go, that's, if the camera's up there, it's an experience, and then you get to watch it back. We had 2 teams that we're trying to recruit in today for games. Again, the camera's up. We're going to analyze them, send them the footage. So it's a massive part of it. Yeah.
And do you hear of players sharing footage with parents and family members?
Yeah, I think one parent came up to me at the end of the game today and said, I think his boy scored 2 goals. He said, can you clip them goals for me and send them to me? Because I want them for this, and this. I want to watch the game back as well. So I think definitely, I've had players as well. One of our development players, he came up to me the other day and said, I've sat down with my uncle the other day and watched the game back. And I said, well, you see that moment or whatever? And he said, yeah, I think my uncle said this and I said this, and I created a bit of a discussion. So I think naturally they want to show the parents what they did in the game, the score, good tackle, bit of skill, things like that.
I think just one point I think I'd like to make to both of you actually is that I think you alluded to it, Andy, earlier in your presentation, around what you're trying to do at the academy is almost replicate what they do at elite level in terms of the way you do video analysis and data analysis to then present to your players. I think what we're trying to do at Pixellot is effectively try and provide those tools at a cost which is affordable. And that's the bit that we're trying to do is to democratize what we're doing, to provide these tools to everyone, not just to the ones at elite level. I think that's the key, crucial part of this this session really, is to kind of say that these tools are available relatively cheaply and could be used just like what the elite level professional players do and teams do.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, couple of quick questions. If you want to get your last questions, how much physical data is being tracked by you guys through the Pixellot camera, Andy?
Well, we actually use physical data. Is obviously really difficult to track. We actually use Player Tech or GPS.
Yeah.
So you may have heard of them. Use GPS for that.
Yeah.
Currently investing in more of those. Again, that's really important alongside the video, the stats, tracking that physical data, especially player load, session load, distance covered. Again, using it contextually with the stats in the video. I think those things are really important. We also pull in other data from kind of like questionnaires, so like session load questionnaires that we give out to players. So yeah, physical data is massively important. Something that we use and we're developing more as well. I think our video and our stats through the air and vid swap and our analysts are really established, but then the physical data and contextualizing that is ongoing and a work in progress, really.
Great. And then Ross, how many sports are Pixellot covering right now?
Yeah, so obviously we're talking about football predominantly today. We have it with basketball. We also have it, well, we're developing at the moment rugby union, and we're looking at other sports all the time in terms of development. I mean, with our fixed install cameras, we have it with 16 sports currently, and it's growing. So any sort of ball related sports typically is what we develop in-house at Pixellot. So I wouldn't be surprised if you want to look at other sports beyond the ones that I mentioned that involve a ball, the Pixellot will probably eventually develop for the air systems.
Yeah. And how long does the battery last? We talked about 4 hours in the past, is that right?
Yeah, 4 to 6 hours we've got in terms of the recording time. So yeah, you can obviously get a few games, 3 to 4 games out of it, depending on the state of the battery in terms of how long you used it. But certainly at the start, it should be between 4 and 6 hours.
Okay. Let's say someone's filmed one game, one 90-minute game. They take the Pixellot camera inside, they plug it into their internet router, internet provider, they press the upload button. How long from plugging it into your internet? So let's say you've got good internet access, so that's not a problem. Your internet access is fast for uploading, for it appearing in video swap, and let's say you've got it pre-tagging request as well. Could that be, within a couple of hours?
Yes, it's typically what we advise, and Andy alluded to this in his presentation, as we say normally between 4 to 6 hours that the footage will be uploaded. And then if Pixellot are obviously doing the basic breakdowns in terms of the data that's collected, that we collect on behalf of the customer, we can work to different timeframes on that, but typically it can be sort of around 3 to 4 hours, or we do other services. We can do different models effectively around, if you need it more quicker, then we can get it to you quicker, and obviously it costs more. But if you want to have it a little bit later, maybe 24 hours later, we can obviously provide it at a cheaper cost and a cheaper rate.
Great, got it. I think that answers the question. Okay, folks, those are all the questions that have come in. Thanks for joining everyone tonight. There's been a lot of people on here, and we really appreciate you sending in all those questions. We've given you your answers. You should receive an email very shortly with a link to be able to watch this and more links to Pixellot. But please do reach out with any questions. And we look forward to speaking to you soon. Andy, really appreciate the presentation, the time that's gone into there. It sounds like you've got a fantastic academy. You should be incredibly proud of that and the work you do there. So thanks a lot for sharing your experience.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's been really good. I hope I've provided some insight into what we do at the Steven Gerrard Academy, and then some things that you may be able to take into your own team or squad or academy, or if you're just doing it as a hobby, and something you can take away. Obviously, just talked about all the Pixellot software and hardware. So hopefully we've given you a bit of a hands-on look at that and the process that we use to get that data and video from one end to the other.
Brilliant, great.